All right, this is the Locked On Washington Football Team podcast, along with David Harrison. I'm Chris Russell. Pleased to be joined now by Omarr Smith, who is the Morgan State defensive backs coach, former Arena Football League head coach, and as well did the Bill Walsh Diversity Fellowship with the Washington Football Team, and is going to be rejoining the WFT down in Richmond for the start of training camp before he has to get back to his normal job. And Coach Omarr Smith is with us, kind enough to join us here on LOWFT. Coach, thank you very much for your time. Hope you and your family had a great 4th of July weekend. Thanks for doing this.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me. Anytime.
And Coach, like Chris said, you've already spent some time with the Washington Football Team franchise, got some coaching in, giving those NFL players some work and all that. What has been your takeaway from that small portion of time you've been able to spend with franchise already, and how you're going to take that into this next chapter?
The first thing that I noticed was just the culture that they're building. I think it's going to be very conducive to winning long term. Under the stewardship of Coach Ron Rivera. His reputation precedes him. Everything that you hear about him is pretty much spot on. He's about the little things that being detailed, and his staff works diligently in preparing the guys to play, and they have talent. So when you have those two things, you have a shot to be successful.
Coach, when a coach or a leader says culture, and that's a big word for Ron, you just mentioned it. That's what every coach, I would assume, is trying to install. What does culture mean to Omarr Smith, and how do you describe it?
I think for every coach is different, but there's some main lines that are universal. In my estimation, it's what you do every day. How you go about your business when your 10 toes hits the ground, what you do when people are looking, what you do when no one's looking, how you go about your business, your preparation, your attitude, how you interact with people, your mindset, all of those things, in my estimation, encompasses what culture is.
Yeah, and Coach, a lot of good things obviously going on there with the franchise, and obviously you've had a very good experience with them. But if there was one thing, like if this thing was like a cake, and you kind of take one slice of that cake and take that wedge back with you to your full-time job, what would that kind of one thing part of this culture be if you could isolate that into one specific detail?
I would say be thorough in how you interact and deal with players, regardless if they're professional or they're high school kids or Pop Warner kids, or college kids. Be thorough in teaching and getting players, conveying to players what it takes to be successful. I think a lot of coaches spend a lot of time on the end goal. One thing that I've learned is pay attention to the little things and stick to that. And if you believe in the technique and the fundamentals of whatever your process is, then you have a chance to be successful.
Because every player and every individual learns differently, right? Some learn by practicing, some learn on the chalkboard, some learn by watching extra tape, some learn and respond by yelling at them, some don't. How hard is it as a coach at any level? And you've, again, Morgan State right now, AFL, championship, again, your time with the WFT. How difficult is it to kind of figure out what buttons to push on a kid or a player or a young man? Like, is that as hard as it seems? It seems to me like it would be a challenge to kind of identify, okay, how do I get the most out of player fill in the blank?
Yeah, it's extremely difficult, but at the end of the day, it's about relationships. If you invest in knowing someone, then you got a better chance to get them to where they need to get to. If your relationship is surface level, then you might not know what buttons to push or how to motivate or how to inspire or how to teach in a way that they will properly receive the information. So everywhere I've been, relationships and having a true admiration and caring about the people you work with, that allows you to be able to learn about a person and being able to, teach and motivate and inspire, as well as being able to learn from them, be able to take a player's feedback and say, hey, how could I have taught this concept better? Or how did you receive this? Or did I do a good job explaining these things? So for me as a coach, I'm always trying to learn while I teach. And at the root of it, it's about building relationships. If I know and I have a good relationship and I show this person that I care and I want the best for them and it's genuine, then they'll unravel some things that will allow me to, like, all right, this is how I can teach him. This is how I can inspire this guy. This is how I can motivate this guy. Or I can maybe yell at this guy, but not this guy. But if you don't put in the work and the effort to learn that about them, you wouldn't know those things.
Absolutely, coach. And of course, you're getting this opportunity to show what you can do at the pro level with the pro staff, learn from them as well, obviously, as in a networking venture as part of this program. And it's one of many programs. And it seems like every season there are more and more programs coming up, and all of them geared towards making the league better and giving talented people opportunities. They're still relatively young and they're relatively new, really, in the grand scheme of things. How important do you think they are? And even, have you talked to Coach King at all? I mean, another person who maybe, 2 decades ago, even a decade ago, maybe would not have had the opportunities that she's had, along with some of the other coaches in the NFL, and yourself now in this program.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think it's extremely important. And once I knew that I was going to be doing the internship with WFT, I made it my mission to seek out Coach King, because she's a trailblazer. Whether she knows it or not, she's a trailblazer, and she's opening doors for females that come behind her. So it was important for me to just sit and talk with her about her journey and what her mission is and what did she learn through her experience, and got some good information from her.
Coach Smith, you mentioned Ron Rivera is what his reputation is. And honestly, because of COVID, we've only met with him as a media group once in person, but we talk regularly on Zoom, like what we're talking about now. So I think I have a pretty good feel for him. Jack Del Rio is kind of a guy that we don't know as well. What was your impressions of him working, obviously, on the defensive side of the ball? When you think Jack Del Rio, what do you think now that and how does it differ from maybe what you thought before this opportunity versus now that you've had the opportunity?
Well, I'm of the mindset I don't paint a box until I know someone. So just being in the building and sitting in meetings, he knows so much football. It's unreal. Just be able to sit and pick his brain and just hear him dissect things and, talk about defense. It was a great opportunity for me to learn. In the little bit of time that I've talked with him, just picking his brain as, him being a head coach and being a defensive coordinator and him playing a position. So there's a different level of knowledge in all three of those spots. So it was he had some very profound stuff that they're doing defensively that I'm a huge fan of, and he is a football guy.
Yeah, and coach, obviously, like Chris said, your full-time gig at Morgan State awaits you upon your return and after your experiences here with the Washington football team. I don't know what the NCAA rules allow and permit and don't permit, but have you had the opportunity to reach back and talk to any of your players there at Morgan State through this experience? And if you have, what have those conversations been like? What are they asking you, trying to glean from your experiences? Or if not, what are you expecting to take away from them? What do you think their reception of you and what you have to bring to them after this experience is going to be?
Well, I'm in contact with our players quite a bit. Even during OTAs and mini camps when I was down in Ashburn, I would check on my players every couple of days. And, once OTAs were over and mini camp was over, I was back in the office, doing some virtual meetings with our guys. It was great to express to those guys that how much work and how much luck you have to be able to play at that level, that top level. You have to be diligent. You have to stay healthy. Some things have to fall your way, and you have to impress in everything you're doing. That's one of the things I talk to our players about is you're always being evaluated. Whether you're a true freshman coming in, you're a senior on your way out, when you go to the combine, or whenever, you are always being evaluated. So you need to have that mindset. And if you want to play at that level, you got to have a special talent, but you have to be special outside of just being a great athlete.
Coach, I wanted to run a couple of names by you, just get like, I guess maybe your first glance, more than a first glance thought, if you don't mind, from some of the players that, you got a chance to work with, and just to share with our audience from a coaching perspective. Okay, like this player, William Jackson III, high-priced free agent target, comes in from what I call football Siberia in Cincinnati, where he didn't have much help around him. Is he like only a press man corner? Is he comfortable playing zone, in your opinion? Or does he have to play just a certain way to make him elite?
Nah, he can do it all. And a lot of people get pigeonholed into a certain thing just because they were in a certain system. But watching him, he can play zone, he can play press, he can play off man. He's a very, very talented, very good size corner, and he's a vet. He has some savviness to him. He can make things look like it's going to be open and go take something. So I was very impressed to watch him work.
When you see a guy like Cameron Curl, who, and I don't know how much you got to work with him here, but a 7th-round rookie out of Arkansas last year, physical, can play strong, can play free, can drop down, can just seemingly do everything. When you see a story like that, I mean, does it say more about Cam or how maybe the player development is in Washington, or maybe is it just a combination of both?
Definitely a combination of both. He's going to be an overachiever. He's going to surprise some people that he hasn't already surprised. The size, the football intelligence, the athletic ability to be that big. He doesn't bust coverages. I mean, he is a ball player. I was extremely impressed by Mr. Curl, very much so.
And obviously, I mean, his play on the field warranted much higher than a 7th-round pick. So, it's great to hear from a coaching background what you saw there. I wanted to ask you also, if you don't mind, about Jimmy Moreland, because here's a guy who's 7th-round pick, again, small school out of James Madison. He makes the roster, has a big preseason 2 years ago, and has been very good. Overall, do you think he's best in the slot, or do you think he can play slot and outside? Any kind of way to describe what you see moving forward in Jimmy Moreland's career?
He's very versatile. He's not just a guy that you can put in a slot. I've seen him go outside and play off. He has really good feet. He has a knack for the ball. He's not afraid to tackle. I watched film of him last year. He can do a lot of things. He's not one trick pony by any stretch.
And Benjamin St. Juste, I mean, the limited practices that we as the media were able to see, there was one practice, where he probably swatted away 6 different passes.
Yeah.
I mean, is he as real as he seems to be? I know he's got the size. I know he's got the physicality.
Yep.
Is that what you see in him?
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think that particular practice, he came out there with the mindset of making plays and getting his hands on the ball, and he did that. And I'm sure his confidence grew after that practice. I mean, that was one of the best practices I've seen anybody have. I mean, he was all over the place. And you talk about his size and his athletic ability. Yeah, the sky's the limit for that kid.
And he's ready to, you think he's not, he's raw in, I guess overall any rookie is raw, but you think he can contribute right away early this season?
Yeah, I don't see why not. Everything that I've seen, he's a very talented, smart defensive back, and he's only going to get better as training camp comes along and the season rolls along. He's going to be very good for the WFT.
And one last one that I wanted to ask you about, just generally, and again, I don't know how much you got a chance specifically to work with him, but Jamin Davis working at the Mike linebacker spot, running the defense. We all know what that position encompasses. Obviously he's a 1st-round pick and he's a physical freak, sideline to sideline. We all know that. But from a coaching perspective, what did you see in terms of his ability to call all the plays, checks, adjustments, that type of thing?
Didn't really get a whole lot of time with him, but I just know watching him live and watching him on film, that kid can run, and he is a smart, instinctual linebacker.
Mhm.
So he's going to be someone that's going to be doing some special things for you for many years.
And Coach, as we wrap this up, so just to let the fans know, you're going to again be, I know we talked about this before you came on, you're going to be with the team at the start of training camp down in Richmond, and then maybe even a little bit of time back in Ashburn before you have to get back to Morgan State, right?
Correct.
All right. So we very much appreciate you doing this and making some time for us and giving us the insight that you've learned. I've been, covering you from afar for a couple of years now back in the Arena Football League and so on. So I wish you the best. David and I are very appreciative of your time and your insight and joining us.
Thanks,
No
Coach.
problem. Anytime. Thanks a lot, Dave. Appreciate it, Chris.
Thank you, Omarr. Appreciate you.
Bye.
Thank you so much. I'll talk to you down in Richmond. Okay. I'll be down there for a couple of days. I'll come by and say hello.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Coach.